Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Alright guys, so the numbers just came in for the tablet market share as according from last year to this year, and we've seen some dramatic changes. And now a lot of people questioned the fact when I said, oh, are Android tablets really selling that much? Yes, yes they really are. And the numbers just came in to prove it actually. That I now a lot of people in the US think that iPads dominate, that that there's just nothing comparable to it and everything like that. The thing that they don't realize is that Android's actually been big overseas for a while, especially in countries, Asian countries like China and Japan. So the tablets are a lot different in terms of market over there, and in other countries, Apple does not always dominate, and that's just a misconception that a lot of people have because of Apple's great marketing, that they just think there's nothing better. Now, however, that's a lot different overseas and just all different parts of the world. So let me point out a couple of things. So Apple, in terms of million units sold, last time this year they had they had a total of 11.1 units sold, pretty good amount, and then it grew to 14. So from 11 million to 14 million. So it had about a 3 million increase. However, last year, Android was already selling about 5 million, so not bad, for having a year after Apple. But they increased by another 5 million. Now they have a total of 10 million. So Android actually has about 10 million units sold compared to Apple's 14 million. So while that doesn't seem, while many of you will think, oh, well, Apple's still dominating, yeah, it is. But it's a dramatic change that it is able to double its numbers. So that's really huge. I mean, for any company for in 1 year to double your numbers, that's pretty big. And it changes the tablet market percentage a lot more as well. So Apple, in terms of percentage last year, had 64%, as where Android only had 29%. The other thing that happened is that this year, so 64 to 29, and this year Apple only has 56%, almost dropping 10%, whereas Android now has 41%. And a lot of people questioned, oh, well, is Apple really going to lose the tablet market share? Yes. That's why they released the iPad mini, because they were really feeling the pressure. They didn't want to lose that market share because then, they're losing on computers, they're losing on phones, and now they're losing on tablets. They don't want that. They don't want to suck at everything they do. Not that they do, it's just that, that they will no longer, they're not going to dominate one section, whereas tablets they had dominated for a while. And now they're not going to. This will easily happen next year, even with the iPad mini. It's not going to fulfill what is already happening, and that is that you can't keep it up forever. And oh, that's what she said. But you can't keep it up. You can't keep it up in terms of always being dominating. And that's where they're going to fall off, especially with the new Surface tablets from Microsoft, and the sales have seemed to really go well. And I think it's a good product. I just got one for my other channel, so if you want to check out all about Microsoft tablets, take a look at it. I'm going to be reviewing them, comparing them, everything to all the tablets, including the iPad and, of course, the Android tablets. So it's pretty interesting to see how it's going to go in terms of how the tablet market share will look next year. My prediction is Android will go to 50%. I do believe that Android's trend is going to continue strong, especially with devices like the Nexus 7, and we're getting a 32 gigabyte version, as well as the new Nexus 10 that we now know is official. Things like that, keeping stock Android, as well as every other variant of Android out there, it's just going to completely dominate. Not only that, but I feel that Microsoft will gain at least 15%, if not 20%. Now, Microsoft right now is only like at 1.6% of the tablet market share, but I believe that number will change dramatically, just because of how well Microsoft dominates businesses, and they are a lot better for business. And the Windows tablets are going to come with Office, Microsoft Office. That's going to be a huge thing for business personnel as well as students. So I definitely see it being successful, and I believe Apple will have what's left of the market share, which if it's 50 and 20 or 50 and 15, you're talking about anywhere from 30, 30 and under kind of thing, or yeah. So it's really kind of interesting what will turn out. It could be that they have 35% as of next year. I mean, but if this does happen, that'll be a dramatic change. Right now they have 56%. So if they go to 35%, 30%, or 25%, that would be huge for 1 year. So it's kind of interesting. Just wanted to talk to you guys about that. Now, leave your comments or questions down below. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of, oh, but Android, makes less expensive tablets and all this kind of stuff. So of course, people are going to buy them, when they're so inexpensive. So that's their strategy. Again, their strategy is market share. Apple's strategy is profit margin. The thing is Apple is trying to switch their market strategy, which I think is a very bad idea. Do with what works for you. Apple normally doesn't care if they don't sell as much because they make more profit margin on every product sold. Now, the interesting thing is when a company like Samsung and Apple combat this idea, which is greater, selling more and getting less margin per product, or selling less and getting more profit margin? Well, so far, Apple has won this kind of thing in profitability. That's why when you hear about profitable companies, you hear Apple a lot because this strategy tends to work more. However, there is a tipping scale, and that is if you sell enough, you actually become more profitable. And that's what we've seen with Samsung. They sold double the smartphones that Apple did. The Galaxy S3 alone almost sold more iPhones than everything that Apple could sell. So in terms of things like that, like we're seeing a shift now because since Samsung is dominating the market so much in terms of hardware, we're actually seeing that they can be actually more profitable than Apple, which all analysts are saying that that will happen next year. Leave your comments or questions. Let me know what you guys think. And these are the numbers again. If you don't like them, try to do your own statistics. These are the actual numbers, and the growth over the year is huge. And people are buying more Android than iPads right now, and that's just a trend that's going that is changed dramatically more. Overall, Apple's still winning right now, but who's to say what's going to happen after the holidays? What's going to say? We'll see the numbers next year, and we'll see how they change. All right. Have any questions? Leave them down below. This has been RCKY, the Android Guy.